Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night is the definitive masterpiece of American naturalism. Published posthumously in 1956, the play represents the final, most refined iteration of O'Neill's lifelong preoccupation with the darker impulses of the human psyche. O'Neill famously stated that he wrote this script in tears and blood. It served as an exorcism, a 2-year process of transmuting his family's history of morphine addiction and alcoholism into a narrative he could finally face. The material was so sensitive that O'Neill ordered the manuscript sealed for 25 years after his death. However, his wife, Carlotta Monterey, viewed the play as a landmark of modern drama and chose to publish it just 3 years after his passing. The play creates a specific dramaturgical paradox. It provides a sprawling psychological history of 4 individuals, yet compresses that entire narrative into a rigid, claustrophobic 15.5-hour window. O'Neill rejects the expansive, multi-location structures of traditional tragedy, instead wielding spatial confinement as a deliberate tactical choice. The result is a meticulously engineered theatrical machine. It is designed to physically trap the characters in a space where their past cannot be ignored. O'Neill based the setting on his childhood home, the Monte Cristo Cottage in New London, Connecticut. This real-world architecture provides the physical foundation for the Tyrone summer house. In his stage directions, O'Neill systematically strips away the rest of this house. By ignoring the dining room, the bedrooms, and the grounds, he focuses exclusively on the living room as the play's only arena of conflict. This spatial restriction is the first layer of O'Neill's application of the classical Aristotelian unities. He uses these rigid ancient rules to ensure the audience's attention never leaves the central family unit. The play merges this strict, artificial structure with the clinical accuracy of 20th century naturalism. The characters are trapped by their heredity and environment, presented with a brutal, unvarnished reality. By removing all spatial and temporal escape routes, O'Neill forces a raw confrontation with the past. None of the 4 Tyrones can evade the shared history of the room. As mapped here, the first layer of the trap is the unity of place. From curtain to final tableau, the action never leaves this single room. This restriction prevents the characters from avoiding conflict. Leaving effectively means exiting the narrative entirely. The second layer is the unity of action. O'Neill maintains a strict focus on 2 developments: Mary Tyrone's relapse into morphine use, and her son Edmund's tuberculosis diagnosis. O'Neill allows no subplots, no comedic relief, and no secondary characters to enter the room. This lack of narrative deviation starves both the characters and the audience of psychological relief, keeping the emotional tension fixed at a constant high. Combining singular place and action creates a closed circuit of guilt. Within this room, blame is passed eternally between the 4 occupants, with no outside perspective to break the cycle. The final constraint is the unity of time. The play documents exactly 15.5 hours, beginning at 8:30 a.m. and terminating at midnight. This temporal compression acts as a pressure cooker for the durational time O'Neill creates on stage. Every passing minute makes the weight of the family's past feel heavier. O'Neill tracks this timeline through his precise lighting plot, making the passage of time a physical manifestation of the family's decay. At 8:30 a.m., bright sunlight provides a false impression of normalcy. As time advances, light recedes. By evening, ambient light drops, replaced by shadows growing alongside their substance consumption. By midnight, the room is black, except for a spotlight over the center table. The lighting design physically mirrors the characters' internal descent. It strips away the world outside the room until only their inescapable trauma remains illuminated. Beyond the walls of the summer house, an external force breaches the unities, the encroaching New London fog. Mary views this fog as protection, a comforting blanket hiding reality, a parallel to her morphine haze. For the men, however, the fog represents a suffocating isolation. It is a physical symbol of the loss of self-awareness they experience through chronic drinking. The play pairs the fog with an auditory weapon, the recurring foghorn. This sound acts as a rhythmic reminder of the reality the family is attempting to medicate away. The foghorn repeatedly disrupts the dialogue, shattering the characters' intellectual defense mechanisms exactly when they attempt to justify their past mistakes. The fog and foghorn function as active dramaturgical forces. They physically push the Tyrones deeper into their isolated psychological corners. All of these mechanics culminate in the final tableau. Three men sit in drunken despair as Mary Tyrone descends the stairs, lost in a morphine-induced memory and clutching her old wedding dress. This ending resolves O'Neill's use of durational time. With Henri Bergson's concept of time as a continuous flow, where the past is not a distant memory, but a force that defines every second of the present. When Mary descends in her gown, she is physically manifesting the 19th century convent within the 1912 living room. O'Neill's architecture ensures that the family's entire history is trapped on stage at once. The play rejects a traditional resolution. At the final curtain, no problem has been solved, and no catharsis has been reached. The architectural and environmental constraints lock the Tyrones in a cyclical, perpetual midnight. They are doomed to endlessly repeat a chorus of love, hate, pity, and blame. O'Neill, as the architect of this tragedy, intentionally built this trap for characters based on his own family. Stripping away their spatial and temporal defense mechanisms was not an act of cruelty. He did not corner these figures to condemn them. By removing every possible escape route, O'Neill forces the audience to confront the reality of addiction. He achieves his stated goal of deep pity and understanding and forgiveness for all the four haunted Tyrones. The play remains a definitive record of the cyclical nature of addiction. O'Neill's architecture ensures that the audience leaves the theater with a visceral understanding of the forces that bind these individuals together.